Welcome to BY.JUST.SUMMARY.
In a quiet apartment on the edge of a busy city lived a young man named Arjun. Every morning, Arjun woke up with the same heavy feeling in his chest. He wanted to be stronger. He wanted to wake up early. He wanted to write the stories that lived inside him. He wanted to stop scrolling his phone until 2 a.m. But every day felt like a battle he was already losing. He would set big goals. I will train for 1 hour every day, or I will finish writing my book this year. And for the first few days he would attack them with fire. Then life would happen. One missed workout became two. One late night became a week of bad sleep. Soon he was back where he started, feeling like a failure. One rainy evening, while scrolling through his phone in bed, Arjun came across an old interview. The man speaking said something that stopped him. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Arjun sat up. The words felt like they were meant for him. That night he bought the book Atomic Habits. He didn't know it yet, but this book was about to change the way he saw every single day of his life. The 1% rule, the power of tiny changes. The first thing the book taught Arjun was something that sounded almost too small to matter. It said, get 1% better every day. At first Arjun laughed. 1%? That was nothing. But then he read the math. If you improve by just 1% every single day for 1 year, you don't become 365% better. You become 37 times better. The reverse was also true. Getting 1% worse every day would slowly destroy you. Arjun thought about his own life. He wasn't failing because he was lazy. He was failing because he kept trying to make huge jumps instead of tiny, consistent steps. So he tried something different. Instead of promising himself a full workout, he told himself, I will just put on my training clothes and step outside. On the first day, he did exactly that. He put on his clothes, stepped outside, and came back in. That was it. But the next day, he felt a strange pull to do a little more. Soon, putting on his clothes naturally led to a short walk, then a few push-ups, then a real training session. He had discovered the 2-minute rule without even knowing it yet. The small action had lowered the friction so much that his brain stopped fighting him. And because he showed up every day, even when he didn't feel like it, the habit began to grow roots. Who do you want to become? One night, while reading by the window, Arjun reached a chapter that hit him harder than the others. The book said there are 3 layers of change. Outcomes, what you achieve. Processes, what you do. Identity, who you believe you are. Most people focus only on outcomes. They say, I want to lose weight, or I want to write a book. But the deepest and most lasting change happens when you change your identity. Arjun closed the book and asked himself a question he had never asked before. Who do I actually want to become? Not what he wanted to achieve. Who he wanted to be. He wrote on a piece of paper, I am someone who moves his body every day. I am someone who protects his mornings. I am a storyteller who shows up for his craft. Then he did something small that proved it. He didn't wait to feel motivated. He simply put his phone in another room before sleeping. That one action was a vote for the person he was becoming. Every time he chose the small action instead of the easy distraction, he cast another vote. Over weeks and months, the votes added up. His identity began to shift. He no longer saw himself as someone who tried to be disciplined. He saw himself as someone who was disciplined because his daily actions kept proving it. The 4 laws, how habits actually work. As Arjun continued reading, the book gave him a simple map for building any habit. It was called the 4 laws of behavior change. Every habit, the book explained, follows a loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. To build good habits, you make each step easier to follow. To break bad habits, you make each step harder. Arjun decided to test this on 2 things he struggled with. Building a consistent morning training habit. Breaking his late-night phone scrolling. Law 1. Make it obvious. For training, Arjun made the cue impossible to ignore. He laid out his training clothes and water bottle on the floor beside his bed every night. The moment he woke up, the first thing he saw was the clothes. The habit became obvious. For his phone habit, he did the opposite. He made the cue invisible. He started keeping his phone in the living room at night, instead of beside his bed. Out of sight, out of mind. Law 2. Make it attractive. Arjun loved listening to music and podcasts. So he made a rule. He could only listen to his favorite podcast while he was training. Suddenly, the habit of moving his body became something he looked forward to. For breaking phone scrolling, he made the habit unattractive. He told his best friend about his goal and asked him to check in every Sunday. The thought of disappointing his friend made the late-night scrolling feel less appealing. Law 3. Make it easy. This was the law that helped Arjun the most. He stopped trying to do long, perfect workouts. Instead, he followed the 2-minute rule. His only job was to train for 2 minutes. Most days, once he started, he kept going. But even on the days he didn't, he still counted it as a win because he had shown up. He also redesigned his environment. He kept a pull-up bar in his doorway and resistance bands near his desk. Good options became the easy options. Law 4. Make it satisfying. Arjun started using a simple calendar on his wall. Every day he trained, he put a big red X on the date. Soon the chain of red X's became something he didn't want to break. He also added a small reward. After every training session, he allowed himself 10 minutes of guilt-free reading. The immediate satisfaction helped his brain understand that this new habit was worth repeating. For his phone habit, he made breaking the rule unsatisfying. If he picked up his phone after 10 p.m., he had to do 20 push-ups the next morning. The small cost made him think twice. The dark days and the rule that saved him. Of course, Arjun didn't become perfect. There were weeks when he missed training. There were nights when he stayed up too late. One particularly bad week, he felt like he had lost all progress. He almost gave up. But then he remembered something the book had said. Never miss twice. Missing one day was an accident. Missing 2 days in a row was the beginning of a new habit, the habit of quitting. So the next morning, even though he felt ashamed, Arjun put on his training clothes and stepped outside. He didn't do a full workout. He just showed up. That single action broke the losing streak. He realized something important. Progress is not about never falling. It is about how quickly you get back up. The British cycling lesson, marginal gains. One evening, Arjun read about the British cycling team. For almost a century, they had been average. Then a new coach arrived and made one small improvement in almost every area. The bike, the tires, the rider's sleep, even how they wash their hands. None of the changes were dramatic. But together, they created something extraordinary. Arjun started looking at his own life the same way. He didn't need one perfect morning routine. He needed many small improvements. A better pillow so he slept deeper. Keeping healthy snacks visible in the kitchen. Writing just 200 words before opening social media. Drinking water first thing in the morning. Each change was small, but stacked together, they began to transform how he felt and what he could do. The man Arjun became. 6 months later, someone who hadn't seen Arjun in a while ran into him. "You look different," the person said. "Stronger. Calmer. What changed?" Arjun smiled. "I stopped trying to change my life in one big moment," he said. "I started changing it in tiny moments, every single day." He no longer chased motivation. He had built systems. He no longer saw himself as someone who was trying to be better. He saw himself as someone who was getting better, one small vote at a time. The stories he had always wanted to write, he was finally writing them. Not because he forced himself through giant writing sessions, but because he had stacked the habit of writing 200 words after his morning tea. 200 words became 500. 500 became chapters. His body was stronger. His mind was clearer. His days had a quiet rhythm that felt like freedom. He hadn't become a completely different person overnight. He had simply become 1% better every day for long enough that the compound effect became visible to everyone, including himself. The final lesson. Before he closed the book for the last time, Arjun read one final truth that stayed with him. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. Arjun understood now that habits were not just about productivity or fitness or discipline. Habits were about identity. And identity, built one small action at a time, was the most powerful force in the world. The end, or rather, the beginning.